For thousands of years, the Sahara has been treated like a dead zone, an endless ocean of sand. No cities, no secrets, nothing worth looking for. That assumption may have just been wrong, because an artificial intelligence system, one designed to analyze satellite data, underground radar scans, and geological anomalies, has just flagged something beneath the Sahara that should not exist. Not a ruin, not a few scattered structures. A city, buried deep under layers of sand and time, stretching far beyond what ancient civilizations were ever supposed to build. Roads, grids, symmetry, order, all hidden where no one thought to look. What makes this discovery unsettling isn't just its size. It's the fact that the city doesn't look lost. It looks hidden. The AI didn't find it because archaeologists were searching for it. It found it because the patterns were too perfect to ignore. Shapes that nature doesn't create. Alignments that don't happen by accident. Structures placed with intention. And once the system began connecting the data, one conclusion kept repeating. Whatever this place was, it wasn't meant to be found. Not now. Not ever. Because if this city is real, then the story of human civilization doesn't just need revision. It collapses completely. And the Sahara may not be empty at all. For modern science, the Sahara has always been a closed case. A vast, lifeless desert shaped by time, wind, and heat. A place where civilization could never take root. At least, not on any meaningful scale. Archaeologists believe the story was settled. Small nomadic groups passed through when the land was greener, then left when the climate turned hostile. No cities, no urban planning, no hidden chapters. Maps were drawn, theories were taught. Textbooks repeated the same conclusion for decades. The Sahara was empty long before history began. But that belief rested on one fragile assumption, that everything worth finding had already been seen. The system wasn't built to hunt lost civilizations. It was designed to analyze satellite imagery, subsurface radar data, and geological formations, looking for patterns related to climate change, erosion, and mineral distribution. Thousands of square kilometers processed at once. No bias, no expectations, just data. As the AI scanned beneath the Sahara, it began flagging irregularities. Subtle ones at first, lines that were too straight, angles that repeated too often, shapes that didn't belong to wind or water. At first, engineers assumed noise, a glitch, a false positive. But the anomalies didn't disappear. They multiplied. And when the system overlaid multiple data sources, the patterns aligned perfectly. What the AI saw wasn't random. It detected long, linear structures running parallel for kilometers, intersections forming right angles, large rectangular voids buried deep below the surface, voids that shouldn't exist naturally. Nature doesn't build grids. Nature doesn't repeat symmetry at scale. The deeper the analysis went, the clearer the shapes became. Entire sections arranged as if someone had planned them, carefully, deliberately, methodically. This wasn't erosion. This wasn't coincidence. The AI marked the region with a classification rarely used in geological studies. Non-random artificial pattern detected. That was the moment the Sahara stopped being just sand. When researchers manually reviewed the data, the conclusion was unavoidable. The structures formed districts. The lines aligned like roads. The voids matched foundations. Layer by layer, the AI reconstructed what the sand had erased. This wasn't a settlement. It wasn't a camp. It wasn't a temporary refuge. It was a city. A planned, organized, urban center buried beneath one of the most inhospitable environments on Earth. And its scale was staggering, far larger than anything previously associated with the region. Too large to ignore, too precise to deny. The Sahara wasn't hiding ruins. It was hiding civilization. Then came the most disturbing part. Using AI-assisted geological dating, sediment analysis, and climate modeling, researchers began estimating when the city had been active. The numbers didn't make sense. The city appeared to predate the Sahara as a desert. It existed when the region was green, before the climate collapse that turned fertile land into sand. But according to accepted history, No civilization at that level should have existed there at that time. The timeline broke. Either the data was wrong, or human history was. And that's when the question shifted from what was found to why it vanished. The Sahara was not always a desert. Long before endless dunes, this land was green, filled with rivers, lakes, and vegetation. That part of history is accepted. What isn't accepted is what happened next. The AI's models showed something strange. The city was not slowly consumed by sand over thousands of years. The burial was rapid, sudden, violent. Sediment layers stacked unnaturally fast, as if the land had turned against itself. This wasn't a city that faded away. It was a city that was overwhelmed, and the data suggested it happened faster than people could escape. Cities leave traces of everyday life. Broken tools, household debris, human remains, evidence of struggle or decay. This city left almost nothing. The AI highlighted empty structures, rooms without contents, streets without debris, spaces frozen as if activity stopped all at once. No signs of rebuilding, no adaptation, no return. It looked less like abandonment and more like evacuation, as if the inhabitants knew something was coming. The city's layout raised new questions. The buildings weren't defensive. No walls, no fortifications, no watchtowers. They weren't religious either. No central temples, no altars, no ritual symmetry. Instead, the city was functional, purpose-driven, divided into zones that didn't align with known ancient planning models. Some areas were tightly organized. Others were isolated, sealed off, or deliberately separated. The AI flagged these zones as anomalies within anomalies. This wasn't a city built only to live in. It was built to do something. As the scans went deeper, certain underground sections stood out. Thicker roofs, reinforced chambers, no clear entrances, no signs of habitation. These spaces were different from the rest of the city. The AI categorized them as intentionally concealed, not buried by accident, not destroyed by nature, hidden, and whatever they contained, or once contained, was important enough to protect, even as the city itself was abandoned. That raised an unsettling possibility. Maybe the city wasn't buried to erase it. Maybe it was buried to seal something inside. The Sahara has been crossed for centuries. Explorers, traders, armies, satellites, drones. So how did an entire city remain invisible? The answer lies in scale and expectation. Humans search for ruins where ruins are expected. AI doesn't. It searches for patterns. And when the AI combined radar, elevation data, and climate modeling, it revealed something humans never thought to question. The city wasn't near the surface. It wasn't peeking through dunes. It was buried far deeper than anyone assumed possible, almost as if it had been designed to disappear. Once the data was shared, consensus collapsed. Some researchers called for caution. They warned against speculation, urged slow verification, and questioned whether the patterns could be misinterpreted. Others saw no room for doubt. The AI results were consistent, repeatable. Independent models reached the same conclusions. Quietly, lines were drawn. Not everyone wanted this discovery pushed forward, because confirming the city would mean rewriting timelines, migration theories, and the very origin of large-scale human organization in Africa. And not everyone was ready for that. Finding a buried city is one thing. Digging it up is another. The Sahara is unstable. Excavation could destroy fragile structures before they're understood. But that wasn't the only concern. Some experts raised a darker question. What if excavation reveals something we can't explain? What if it uncovers technology, knowledge, or evidence that doesn't fit human development models? Once something is unearthed, it can't be buried again. And for the first time, archaeology hesitated. Not because of danger to the site, but because of danger to the story we tell ourselves about the past. The city's design began to suggest intention beyond survival. The layout hinted at foresight. Storage areas without consumption signs. Structures built to last, not to grow. Zones aligned with ancient water paths that would one day vanish. It looked like a civilization that knew its environment was changing. Not slowly, not gradually, but catastrophically. This wasn't ignorance. It was preparation, as if the builders understood they were living on borrowed time. No inscriptions were found, no symbols carved into stone, no written language preserved. And yet the city spoke. Through geometry, through alignment, through placement. The AI detected repeating ratios, distances, and spatial relationships that weren't necessary for living, but were consistent across the site. This wasn't decoration. It was encoding, a message designed to survive collapse, erosion, and memory itself. A message that didn't rely on language, because language can be lost. Patterns cannot. The final question wasn't about the past. It was about now. Why was this city found in the age of artificial intelligence? Why not a century ago? Why not later? The AI didn't just detect the city. It connected climate data, geological cycles, and human behavior patterns, and flagged similarities between the past and the present. Rising instability, environmental stress, rapid change. The implication was subtle, but impossible to ignore. The buried city wasn't just history. It might be a warning.